I'd like to start by warmly thanking the Alzheimer's Association, Nick Zullo, Dave Larson, and Pathways to Memory, Kevin Watscott, Barbara Hallstrom, and Corey Hogan, who's in some of these pictures. It's been a delight and a pleasure to work with these professionals. So now you have a sense of the overview of the Alzheimer's Association's intentions, Kevin's description of the Pathways to Memory, and David's scientific analysis. But what did this look like when I arrived at work and interacted with residents and families? Let me start with a resident, Fred. This is not his real name to protect his confidentiality. Fred is very high functioning, but he always isolates himself, always going back to his room after dinner and refusing to come to any activities, and he sleeps most of the time. Within 2 weeks of the Pathways program, my care managers and I were talking outside of Fred's room, and Fred's door opens, and we turn around, and there's Fred. He's coming out of his room, and he looks over at us, and he says, "Come on, we have to get going." He then looks at some of the other residents that are standing around, and he says, "Come on, we have to get going." So we said, okay, Fred. And for 30 minutes, Fred walked through the whole neighborhood like the Pied Piper, gathering together residents for a walking tour of reminiscence. Fred easily walked for another hour afterwards with whomever he could collect and keep with him. I keep having this image, this is completely of my own making, of Fred at a luau doing a cha-cha line. To see him so engaged and, it was just really new and wonderful after 2 weeks. Of all the residents, I really saw Fred blossom the most. He is now more involved in activities. He and I have had multiple 30-minute conversations, which were completely coherent, and this had not happened before. I believe he is more engaged and involved all the time. When I invite Fred to an activity now, he puts on his jacket first, and then he's eager and happy to come join us. His family has shared that they experience him as more outgoing. He's more stable on his feet, and not as anxious. With the Pathways to Memory program, there were some exciting firsts. Another resident, Beth, not her real name, became more cooperative with bathing. Well, what I really should say is that she took her first shower. When Beth grew up, and of course she's reverting back to those days, she used to take sponge baths, which we and her son understand and support. And also Beth is very offended if we ever offer to help. A very creative care manager of mine said to Beth, "I'll get fired if I don't give you a bath." And Beth told her, "I'll tell your boss you gave me a bath." She's very smart. So after starting this program, she took her first shower with a care manager assisting her. Another resident, Georgia, had a funny first. She's usually very quiet and demure, always letting her husband, who doesn't have dementia, answer questions for her and letting him choose her meals. And after working with this program, she started speaking up for herself, telling her husband, "No, I want the spaghetti for dinner," and overall being more assertive. Her husband wasn't completely happy with these changes at first, but he did agree for her to continue on the program after the pilot study was completed. So she's still on it right now, and I just heard that Georgia is now playing the piano again. So one aspect of this study that surprised me was its synergy. This happened in a couple of ways. First, the residents who went through the Pathways program became friends. They started eating meals together and supporting one another. One evening, a resident, Jennifer, was tearful, and 3 other residents from the pilot study came over to talk to her and to help her through her difficulty. Afterwards, the resident told the group how much she appreciated their support. She stood up and was okay. No care managers had to be, I mean, we were all standing there with our mouths open, but we did not intervene. For me, the most powerful synergistic experience of the program is what I would say was the most impactful to my neighborhood was something Kevin was talking about, is that there was a peacefulness and calmness that descended on the whole community. And not just with the residents involved in this program. During the study, I had 30 residents at Sunrise of Sandy's Memory Care. Usually a very large number that is certain to create some chaos just in the fact that they're bumping into each other walking down the hallways. That's usually where my care managers are running around and doing quite a lot of behavior management. So this is my, Debbie Highsmith's, analysis of why this miracle of peacefulness and calmness occurred. I believe that the Pathways program assists people who have dementia with their basic dignity, with their ability to have more choices and options, with their own sense of independence and the belief in their own worth. I believe my residents feel less isolated, alone, less embarrassed, and less dependent, and instead feel secure, safe, calm, cooperative, and heard. Those of us in these amazing neighborhoods with people with dementia know that if we have just one person that is upset, let's say there's a brand new resident who's scared and anxious, that this person will affect the whole neighborhood, and other residents will pick up on that anxiety until the resident is settled in. And what I experienced was the positive side of this kind of group emotional system. With these fewer, calmer, more in control, happier residents, everyone in the neighborhood benefited, including family members who were delighted to see their loved ones more engaged, including care managers who are able to more deeply interact with residents. In the short term, I mean, remember that this was just 6 weeks. I saw an immense benefit and positive impact of the Pathways to Memory program, or of any program that uses brain gymnastics or Cognesium. I have the added benefit of having 4 families choose to keep their loved ones on the program for longer. We get to see Barbara often, which is delightful. To summarize, I believe this pilot study made an impact on many important risk management issues. My team members were more engaged with residents. Residents, as I said before, felt more empowered, and this was a benefit to all the residents. Families could see progress and felt a sense of hope. Last, but not at all least, I know that one couple which signed up for the program was worried about money in these days, and in the past had considered leaving Sunrise of Sandy. After the completion of the pilot study, this family has enrolled to continue in it, which, by the way, does have some financial costs, so obviously this family was inspired. I believe both residents are happier and more engaged. So I can honestly say that this pilot study most likely kept our census up by 2 residents. And finally, I'd like to share a personal insight I learned from this experience. I came to dementia care because I have a passion, like all of you, for seniors, and I believe in their worth and dignity. I thought I was fully living out this belief. I learned that I was underestimating what my residents can do and be. I was assuming that dementia had only one direction: declining. I now believe differently and will base my actions on this new belief. I hope we are at the beginning of a revolutionary change in dementia care, where the care and interactions a resident receives will affect the actual trajectory of their lives. It is very exciting to be a part of this new revolutionary care.